Mastery.
You don't want to be showed up.
Well, give me your worst. See what happens.
Showed up,
Let's see
shown
what
up.
you've got. What's that?
I said you don't want to be showed up, but it's definitely shown up.
Shown up. That's
Yes.
right. Yes. All right. Well, hi there and welcome to yet another episode of Live at Leigh's Place, brought to you by me, Leigh McRae, the creator of the Vocal Mastery program, which you can find at vocalmastery.com. Vocalmastery.com. And I have with me today a very, very special guest, somebody I've known for a long, long, long time. In fact, her entire life. Please say hello to Sharnielle Hartley.
Hello.
You have to wait for the applause to die down,
sorry.
see? People out there applauding, and that's about it. That's about as far as that goes.
Hello, everyone.
How are you today?
Great. How are you?
I am just fantastic. It's wonderful to have you here. It's a
wonderful to
beautiful
be
summer's day. Yeah. It's warm outside. It's nice in here. And there's lots of things I want to talk to you about. In particular, you just came back from New York and we're going to chat about that and a whole bunch of stuff. But I get the bragging rights of embarrassment, which is, not something I'm known for, as many of you know. I mentioned in the intro there that I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
And the embarrassing story of that is that, well, not embarrassing, but you were actually coming here before you were born.
Yeah, before I knew I was coming here.
That's exactly right. Let me explain that. So Sharnielle's mother, Maria, hello Maria, if you're watching, I'm sure she is watching.
Hi, Mum.
Hi, Mum. Was coming here for lessons with me some 20 little years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she was pregnant with you at the time.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure I have memories of her bringing you in a bassinet thing, whatever they call those things.
I mean, I can't tell you I have memories of that, but I don't.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I distinctly recall you coming in and sort of hanging onto her hand when you were maybe 20 at that point. No, that's a dad joke if ever you heard one. No, I think you were probably about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And I've got recordings of you at 7 and 8, which I shall one day release to the world. So that's the history.
Yeah.
And I think if nothing more, you have really attacked your education over the years. Now, the background was what I'm going to get you to talk about, but your mum had a dance school, a very successful dance school in the southern part of Sydney.
Yes.
So what was that like? You were growing up, it was all about dancing, right?
Yeah, all about dancing and music and just performing. And there wasn't an afternoon after school that I wasn't dancing, or even before school some days. I'd go to tap lessons in the mornings and then head off to school and then go to dancing in the afternoon. I used to get changed in the car and off you go.
Yes, with a snack, right?
Yeah.
A juice box.
Yes, a warm juice box.
A warm juice box. I remember that. Went through that with my daughter as well. And a bit of food and then a quick ponytail.
Yeah.
I was very good at the single ponytail.
Oh, you're a good
well, I had one as well, see. That helped, yes.
Yes, practice.
So very good with that. And then off you trot for ballet or if you trot for whatever when. But what was it like having mum as the principal, as the boss lady?
I mean, for me, I think it kept me very measured. It kept me, not that because you don't want it to be, oh, well, she's only doing this because the principal, because the teacher's her mum or anything like that. But it kept me, it wasn't about winning. It wasn't about being in the front. It wasn't about any of that because I had to get rid of that already because, that wasn't going to work that way with having the teacher as your mum. People will think favoritism, all of that sort of stuff was a big thing that we didn't want to happen.
Right. So you're saying that to the best of your knowledge, mum was pretty aware of that.
Yes, and very even. It was always very even. And for me, having my mum as the teacher and the principal of it all, I sort of had all of the dance teachers as my big sisters and the senior students. I looked up to them all the time because I'd be at dancing, finish my classes, but she still had to work. She still had to teach for the rest of the night. So I remember sitting in the corners and doing my homework, or they'd be doing kicks down the room to me and I'd join into the senior classes sometimes. And so I was always around it, even when I wasn't in the classes. Yeah,
it's a very cliched thing, but in essence, it's in the blood.
Yes.
Right? And I mean, that probably works double fold, if that's the right way to put it. I had somebody say to me the other day about they knew someone whose parents were both singers, and they said, no doubt that daughter will become a singer. You go, well, I try to explain it to them that to the best of my knowledge, it's not hereditary, as in it's not in the DNA necessarily, but it's very much in the environment.
Yeah.
So yes, that girl is growing up around two parents that sing and music. It would be hard to not become influenced by that.
Yes.
You know, and kids pick up many of our great habits, and rather sadly, they pick up some of our not so great habits as well. So there tends to be more of an environmental thing, and that must have been it's a fantastic thing to have grown up in, and pretty much you don't really know any other way. But interestingly enough, because I've worked with both your other siblings, and whilst they had an interest, they haven't really gone in that direction, have they?
Yeah, no, they have not. No, not so much at all.
It's intriguing. I'm one of 5 boys, as I've talked about on other podcasts, and I'm the only one that has, well, some musical talent anyway. We're calling it that. That went towards in that area, and the only thing that we can work out. So I was born in 1961. That's giving it away, isn't it? And my mother was an accomplished pianist, a very, very good pianist. And I've tracked it back to she was playing a lot, in particular when she was pregnant with me, and also during the early stages. And then not long after that, we moved to a place where we didn't have a piano. And so, look, who knows?
Well, Mum was teaching classes with me in her stomach. Like Mum had people doing dance exams. I think the story goes that it was the morning of someone's tap exam or, something like that. And then I was rushed off. She was rushed off with me.
She was rushed off.
Yes. I did, yeah.
And then she left you at the hospital and said,
I'm going
to get back and finish off that exam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's a busy woman, right? Your mum?
She is,
so,
for sure.
So I would say in the early stages that I knew you, I reckon you did every conceivable Eisteddfod exam, talent quest, true? All of them.
Absolutely.
Anything that was available,
absolutely,
you were there doing it.
Yep.
Do you have a fond memory of those sorts of things?
Yes, 100%. For me, that's what I was doing. Weekends. Well, also for me, it was what I did. I didn't necessarily play, I was going to say a lot of sports, but any sports. I did some swimming, as most Australians do.
Yes.
But that's what I did at school, and so then that's what I excelled in after school, and I just, weekends, Eisteddfods, exams, and holidays, Eisteddfods. Remember July long weekend or June or July long weekend, Canberra, Eisteddfods. Like you're always doing something,
right.
Wollongong, Eisteddfod, and for me it was getting up on stage that I loved.
To our viewers, because people watch this all over the world, right? So this might be, I don't know too much. My experience is primarily here, the UK and the US. So I've worked a lot in those areas. So certainly dance competitions in the States, and we've seen shows like, what's it called? Not Dance Camp. What's it
Dancing with...
No. The lady, and I don't want to mention, she's unfortunately got taken off to prison.
Well.
Anyhow, whatever that was called, Dance Mums.
Yes.
Sorry, Dance Mums. So these sorts of things go on, and I mean it's an enormous industry.
Yes.
In the area that I live here in Sydney, which is in the southern part of Sydney, there are within a 2 kilometre, so that's a mile and a bit for those folks overseas. There are 5 dance schools in this area that I can drive to within a 5 or 6 minute period, who all have in excess of 400 or 500 students. Now, that's just one remote area, and we're not even in what you would call an overly affluent area. Like we're not in the city. I mean, we're not in the slums either.
No.
But we're talking because this kind of tuition is, I say expensive.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
it takes, especially if over the years you have 2 or 3 or 4 kids going through some of those schools every afternoon. And then there's all the extra bits. There's the costumes, and then there's the fees, and then there's examination fees and whatnot. So it's quite something.
And Eisteddfod entry. There's always
the entry fees.
There's so many extra things.
Yes. And how many Eisteddfods did they get it wrong?
Oh.
How many were you robbed in?
Oh.
All of them. All of the ones you didn't win, right?
Every one that I didn't win.
Yes. So you did that, and you went through school and all that sort of stuff, all the performances. And then you got a scholarship to Macdonald College.
Yes.
Now, Macdonald College, by the way, folks, is not where you go to learn to make hamburgers. I'm pausing for the laughter there, of course. Macdonald College is a very highly respected institution in Sydney, one of the most respected in the country, if not, for performing arts people, And so you were making the trek all the way from the southern parts of Sydney to...
I was 11 at the time, and it was an hour and a half there on the train, an hour and a half back. They partnered you up with a buddy from maybe year 7 or 8 because it goes on to high school, and I did it for the big ending of primary school. And and it was a long trek. And then some days I'd go from there and just go straight to dancing. And
why not? You don't have any home life at that point.
No.
Goodness sake.
Well, my home life was at dancing, at least.
How would you describe your experience at Macdonald College? Do you remember it fondly?
Yes, I do. And it was really the first time that I had been... Well, really, I remember the first day when I got the acceptance letter, and that was just the most exciting thing. And that was the first real step to me, because I was growing up doing the Eisteddfods and doing all of the talent quests and all that sort of stuff, but I've always known I wanted to sing and perform. Mm-hmm. So it was the first...
Let me ask you about that, because I've asked this question a lot of people. When did you know that you wanted to be a singer and performer? Like, do you have a particular memory of that?
Not necessarily. Right. I think it crept up on me, really, because I was born into the culture of it all and born into it all and really enjoyed being on stage. Right. And I actually think it would have been one of the days that I would be watching people, because I have younger siblings, I'd be dropped off to the Eisteddfod and Mum would say, okay, text me when the section before you's on, so she could run back. And I used to sit there sometimes for hours watching other people dance and just want to be up there on stage. It's just what I wanted to do. It wasn't that I was getting bored watching them, but I just wanted to turn. And I think that that's probably what maybe started it, being serious in my head, that this is what I want to do.
Right.
Being in Macdonald College, getting accepted into that and starting there was my first real life step, I thought, towards, okay, you're doing it. It's a specialised college and it's,
Yeah, for those folks, you can check out their website because they're alumni. There's some pretty serious folk there, right? They've gone on and done a couple of Wiggle people in there and High Five and a number of quite well-known actors and singers. And so they've really produced some good folks. Would you say it was a particularly disciplined place? Is that what you remember about it?
Yes. Yeah, I think it was. And even just for the fact that, you'd go about your school day, you have to do all your normal subjects, but then it was, I think after lunch, you'd go and have your ballet. You go to do ballet and, so you put the ballet tights on and, that was really one of the first, real disciplined sort of training in that way.
Yeah. And is that, there are some folks who are self-starters, I call them. Mm-hmm. I think that might be called didactic. That makes me sound smart, doesn't it?
It does.
They're self-learners. People who go... Now, I wouldn't imagine you'd be self-learning in ballet. I think that would probably be a bit weird. But I've worked with some remarkable people over the years who can just... They play the piano and they also know how to score things and they know... And you go, well, where did you learn this from? They go, I just sort of taught myself.
Yeah.
But then you've noticed within that person a particular trait, and that is that they are individually disciplined.
Yes.
They're able to spend lengthy periods of time focusing on something. Now, I don't want to separate it out into another group of people, but just for the sake of the conversation, there are others who need to be told, on Thursday, have this done. On Friday, you need to have this done. Now, eventually, you hope that
becomes habit.
That's what you're trying to train people in, whether it be through school, performing arts, through voice lessons.
Yeah.
My one goal for students when they come here is that one day they leave me. And people often get perplexed by that. And I go, it doesn't mean that you won't check in with me from time to time, but you have to know what you've got to do. My job is to teach you that. Your job is to learn to do it and take responsibility. So, I know the reputation for that place.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is not an endorsement for that particular college. We're just talking about it, although I've had many students from there over the years, and I would say, if not all of them, have had a really good work ethic.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, like you were saying, the job is to give the tools.
Yes.
And then we have to go off and make something of it. And definitely that's where it started.
Right.
As well as all the extracurricular auditions, Eisteddfods and things like that. But definitely that was the first really structured.
All right, and you were there for a while, and then you transferred out of there and decided to do years 11 and 12. Now... what is that for our US people? Anyhow, it's the last 2 years of high school before you go to college, right? So you did years 11 and 12 at the Australian Institute of Music.
Yes.
And why did you transfer into that? What did you think was more desirable about going to there?
For me, it was the music. There was a little bit more. It was more music driven, right. And I felt I needed to really study more with music theory and all of that sort of stuff and learn. Because I found at AIM, we had to do this thing called performance coaching, where every Friday everyone comes in the year because it's a university as well. So with some uni students and sometimes the uni lecturers and whatever would come and sit in the, I guess, like the stage area, the hall, and you'd have to get up and perform. And then after that, people from your classmates, the teachers, everyone, they can sort of critique you or give you some words of encouragement or try this next time.
Right.
And there were people getting up doing things from all different genres or all different styles. And that's something that I had never really been, I guess, exposed to.
Is it because, just purely for the conversation, McDonald College was a lot more dance focused?
Yes.
Yes, and you felt your strength was going to be in more, dares we have to list it, but more of a singer first.
Yeah.
And your dancing was not secondary, but...
Not secondary, but because I think that it's equally important to be...
And I would be thinking that if somebody had... Because I see kids that win a Stedford's, they get ballet scholarships and things. Many of them have come from McDonald College. So it's a strong emphasis
ballet
on
is,
that.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you're growing up and you said, well, I want to be a prima ballerina, then that's obviously the area you would focus in. It just sort of makes sense. So, but it was smart, and also you had the family support and whatnot. They said, listen, you should go where the strengths lie.
Yeah,
and how would you apart from those workshops and things? What was another great thing about being at AIM? What did you like about that?
I loved that there were people from everywhere there.
Right,
and
as in all over the world. You mean?
Not so much all over the world, but all over Sydney. For
right.
starters,
oh, that's the world right there.
That is our world. But definitely being from the Shire. So what's that? South.
Let me explain to people.
Let's explain.
Internationally, there's a place in the southern part of Sydney, and it's called the Sutherland Shire. However, it's been shortened to just the Shire.
God's country.
And, did you just hear her under her breath say God's country? For those of us who don't live in that area, we imagine that they have some sort of invisible force field that prevents people from leaving there. Now, there was a show done, I'm sure you find on YouTube, it's a show called The Shire, done some years ago, which I think exposes it for... perhaps what it is.
Yes.
Anyway, and hello to all our friends who live in the Sutherland Shire. It's a beautiful part of the world. The beaches are magnificent. But you're sort of suggesting coming from the Shire and then being in the city, that they're different people.
Well, just the fact that then, because it's far from places too, and a lot of people tend to stay because everything's there. It's great in the Shire. And so, but when you then get to the city, there's people from the whole other side of Sydney.
Except institutions to learn from.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, depending on what you're trying to learn.
Yes, precisely, yes.
So it just got me traveling a bit more, and it got me out to see, this person from this side of Sydney or this musicians from everywhere, and the networking part of it was awesome. And because there were a lot of older people there at the universities, I'm in year 11 and 12, and I'm looking at, we did this great, it was a production of Woodstock.
Oh, yeah.
In 2011, because they do, the end of year showcase. And it was great because we got to audition as high school students to be in it, and it was really the university kids' performance. But then getting to work with them, that was when I first really learnt about music of the 70s and all of that sort of stuff. So that was awesome. Got to sing like Janis Joplin stuff and, all of those sorts of things, and then work along with uni musicians and singers and stuff.
Yeah, people who are graduating, doing their bachelor and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And at a lot of, if I was just at a normal high school, you just wouldn't get that until you're there, at
that's
uni.
Correct.
So,
and there were a lot of teachers at that place, like, people have got a lot of experience. People have been in the business for a long, long time. My musical director for years pretty much ran the musical theatre department, Greg Crease. Hello, Gregory, if you're watching. He's just retired from there recently. A person with a wealth of experience. Like, you read his resume, you go, oh, my Lord. Yeah, this guy just like... And you had people like that teaching there.
That's it.
Jennifer Murphy was running it still might be there, I don't know.
Yeah.
But people with enormous experience. And that's what is required to I think really educate folks, especially young folks.
Yes, absolutely.
We're living in a time now where we're saturated with information, saturated with it from folks who perhaps don't have a lot of experience, but they have access to the same marketplace, i.e. the internet, as everybody else.
That's it.
And, most folks are going to be very prudent about whether that information is valid or not. But we're saturated with information. We're swimming in it, but we are drowning for wisdom is the way to put it.
Yes.
And really, if you get people from the business who are not jaded and all that sort of stuff, and they pass on their genuine experiences and their love for what they do,
it's invaluable.
It's totally invaluable.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is take a little break here, and we'll come back and have a little bit more of a chat with Sharnielle in just a moment. You're tuned in to Live at Leigh's Place, where we talk to singers about singing stuff. Proudly presented by vocalmastery.com, where there's never been a better time to become a great singer. And we're back. Folks, you may notice that the reoccurring theme on the vast majority of these podcasts is about ongoing education. And I can't say enough of that insofar as the people that I was fortunate enough to follow into the business, teachers and performers, and the younger ones I see, and the ones that are coming through who are working, they're working consistently, the message is the same for all of them. I mean, it's an old saying, but you never stop working on your craft. The moment you do, boy, you're stuck. You're in trouble, right?
Yeah. And well, there's no roof for the industry.
No, that's right. I do also have to, remiss of me to have not given a shout out to our good friends at Rode. For those of you who watched the podcast before, we have a different setup. We started these on the last one. These are fantastic microphones. Our good friends at Rode there, they have a microphone for everything. They really do. I use them. I've been using them exclusively for about 25 years now. I record with them. I use them for the podcast here as well. You need a mic for a particular function, they've got it. They really have. So, see our good friends at Rode.
Yeah.
Now, moving on from that particular thing, would you describe yourself as a competitive person? And we're after an honest answer here.
Yeah, I'm digging deep. Within myself, yes.
Right. Okay. You see that as being healthy within yourself? Yeah.
I think not so much, I won't look at someone and go, I'm going to beat you.
Right.
But I'm competitive with, if I've sung this well before, I want to make sure I'm doing that or better, in that sort of way.
And I've never understood that I'm going to be better than somebody idea anyway. I understand I'd like to be as good as that person, but it's not a running race, right? I mean, the silly thing is if I set you and I up for a 100-yard dash, you'll beat me, I can assure you. But that's a fair assessment, isn't it? That
yes.
It's a genuine kind of competitive thing.
That's it.
So, and it's almost unavoidable in this business, or probably any business you're in. My running joke every podcast is probably the same if you're in real estate. You want to be doing well, but if you're spending time focused on the other person, how well they're doing, it kind of detracts from yourself.
Absolutely.
I remember this story about it was, and we have people fact checking, so write in please, but it was something to do with the Olympic Games, and it was the Canadian guy, it was Ben Johnson, and he was going to, anyhow, whatever it was, they had to get somebody for the relay team. And some guy had won the 200, he held the world record, some guy had held the 400, or maybe I got the numbers, so the 400 and the 800, they needed somebody for the relay. So they had this sort of stousting when they had this, bit like Muhammad Ali, I'm the greatest, I'm going to beat you, and the other guy's going, I can beat you, I can beat you. Here's what actually took place. They had a big event for it, this trial to get into the Olympic team, and you see the cameras there and the guys are sweating, they're looking at each other, they take off, and within 100 metres, both of them pulled a hamstring. Now, they were running down the line like this, looking at each other. And I thought, that's a pretty good metaphor, isn't it?
Well, that's it, yeah.
And in that, so you get that. They're looking at one another comparatively, competitively, and they both got
distracted.
Injured. Yeah. So I think it's healthy to be competitive within yourself. How are you able to determine whether you are getting better, whether what you're doing is better or better than what you did before?
Yeah. I think that's hard.
It is a hard
really
question.
hard.
I'm all about the hard questions on here. You know that.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm just curious if you have an insight into that. You'd have to know if you said to someone, I'm getting better, there would be something measurable, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, which I'm sure we'll probably get to, working in Japan, having to sing the same things all the time.
Well, you do preempt my next point at that stage, because so after you graduated and whatnot, you did then go on to further education. You went to another I call it institution, and you went to a place called ED5, which we've had a couple of guests on the podcast who have graduated from that. Once again, these are not endorsements for these places. However, I do suggest you check them out if you're looking for, and you would recommend it wholeheartedly, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So 2 years as a singer, dancer.
Yes, so vocal stream.
Right. And tell me about that insofar as, once again, the discipline of having to show up 5 days a week and do what has to be done, right?
Best decision I ever made.
Great.
In that way, because there is just nothing like it. And they definitely say this is the hardest you'll work, and it's true. And so I feel, I really feel ready for any sort of, anything that the industry throws at me, any busyness, I guess, in that way, being in Japan and having to sing all the time, it was difficult, but I felt, I could get through it because I did the 2 years of, like, you're there 8 to 4 and that's it. There's no slacking off. You just can't.
No slacking
but,
off.
It's good. It's the first time you sort of go, all right, this is it.
Yeah, well, you did jump there, because my biggest observation the biggest change in your voice, having known you all of those years and worked with you so many times, was the 12 months that you spent. It was at Universal Japan, right? Yes. Now, explain to folks what that entails. You auditioned and you...
Yeah. So I auditioned, actually flew to Queensland for it. And I did the audition, and then I got called I did the characters over there, and then I also did the Monsters Rock show. Right. And so that was singing about 5 shows a day.
Right. So 5 shows a day. How many days a week?
I did that one probably 2 days a week, that one.
Right, that one.
In Japan. But, you're just singing, you're in a air-conned room, which is not great all the time for singing all the time. And and it was, you just had to go and you get up, you ride your bike to work and you just do it, and you're there all day.
But the other 5 days you're doing shows as well, right? But just not that particular show. But you're singing?
Yes.
Right. So you're singing on average 6 days a week?
Yeah.
And sometimes several shows per day.
Yeah.
That you might sing for 15 or 20 minutes in each of those shows.
Yeah.
So if you add that up, now anyone who knows about the 10,000 hours, you know about that, and you're clocking up a lot of singing at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know for a fact, because I know a lady, a friend of mine rather, who sort of preceded you in that role, and I saw the transition within her, I should say, that then she felt confident enough to go to the UK and audition for shows, and subsequently got some shows and has played the lead role in a couple of things now. And she said the discipline of having to turn up that 5 or 6 times per week and do it, irrespective of whether you feel like doing it or not, that's a whole different thing.
That's exactly.
Because that's your job.
Yeah.
And she said that they're demanding in their standards, right?
Yes, absolutely. And not even just the company or, your stage managers or anything like that. It's also the public there, the audience that you have there. And I mean, especially in Japan, we have the thing called superfans. And there's people there who are videoing you and taking photos of you every single show. My contract was 11 months. So, I had people who were there, and I have a video of nearly every performance over 11 months, up there on the internet, and that they're there. So you've got to bring it.
And by the way, as usual, I do this because we'll be putting Sharnie's all of her information down the bottom there in the information. Is it called the information box?
Yeah, I think so.
Description box.
Yes.
See, I'm learning. Yes,
good job.
Yes, I understand all this, how this stuff works. Yeah, no, that's where I remember you came back. You had some time off. I think you came back for your 21st birthday, if memory serves me correctly. And I thought, I said to myself, she's singing better than ever. And there were some other things that you did while you were there. And one of those things was a song, which I'll go into a little while longer, because it was actually the thing that catapulted you into another area that I want to talk to you about, which you're already aware that you had done it. And that is that due to that, I was working with some singers there's an internationally renowned show, and it is a fantastic show called Burn the Floor. Go and Google it if you're not familiar with it.
Please.
It is absolutely extraordinary,
Yeah.
that show. The dance, I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Neither have I.
And
Incredible.
except you've seen it from the good side
From
of
real
it.
life, yeah.
So as circumstances came up, I happened to be working with some singers in that already, and there was some shuffling around of singers, and they were looking for somebody, and they happened to mention to me, they asked me, do you know of anybody who would be suited for this show? And I was able to send them a link of something Sharnielle had done, which was a version of That's Life, if memory serves me correctly,
Yes.
from, what was that TV show? I love that show.
Smash.
From Smash. Why
loved
did they
it
take that?
too.
What did they do with Smash?
I don't know.
It went. Anyhow,
It went.
if you're a music theatre person, if you haven't seen Smash, go and look at it. It's there on the web.
Yeah.
And I was able to send this link, and they called me back, and they said, she's fantastic. They asked me a few more questions, and I didn't have to speak too much beyond that because the proof was there in what you're able to do. And I only had one request, and I said to them, would you be okay if I was able to call her and tell her that
Yes.
she's been offered the job?
Yes.
And I remember I called you Japan time, whatever it was, a couple of
Yeah.
hours behind here.
Yeah. It's in the afternoon.
And you said, well, what are you calling for? I said,
Yeah.
oh, just seeing how you're going and what's going on. And you said, I'm
Yeah.
about to do a show or something.
Yeah, well, you messaged me on Facebook, said, what's your Japanese
Did
number?
I?
You called
I
me
didn't
on,
even know how to do that now. How did I work
on
that out?
something, or emailed me.
Insta something.
And I sent you my Japanese. They give you a little flip phone.
Oh, do
Right,
they?
which just only really the company calls you on your flip phone or your friends in Japan,
Right.
and sort of, and then you asked me, and then I got a call almost straight away, and I flipped
Yeah.
it open and went, hello,
Yeah. I do remember
Took
the
my Fiona
conversation.
wig off.
I was able to say, one of us on this conversation is the new singer in Burn the Floor, and it's not me. And you were like, what? What are you saying?
Well, I was wearing my green velvet dress, and I was going to be straight.
But it turned out perfect because your contract was coming to an end in Japan. You were coming home. There was like a 4-week window for rehearsal, maybe not even 4 weeks. And then went straight to on the tour here.
Yeah.
But just tell us about your experience with that show, because my memory is you've been to, correct me, Japan, South Africa, China. Help me out. There are more places, right?
Well, all around Australia.
All around Australia. That's plenty to start with, right?
Yeah, definitely. And then on the ship,
Then on the
because
ships
it
as
took
well.
us onto the ship.
Yeah.
So, then
So
all over the
tell us,
place
just tell the folks what that experience has been like for you.
that to me has been life-changing, that experience,
Mm-hmm.
through the whole time. I mean, if I was to watch or listen to even a song I had done with Burn the Floor in my first show with them to the last, most recently, it's just not even just my singing has improved, but my stage presence, all of that sort of stuff has just improved or changed, I guess, leaps and bounds. Because just for the fact that, you start off the show, it goes to so many different places. So you're having to sing, it's asking so much of the vocalist. You're having to sing so many different things.
That's right, including some French, right? There's a French song,
Yes,
a Carmen song, I
yes,
think, from
Carmen,
memory.
yes.
A few things like that. But and from your point of view, because they pack up and go, right?
Yeah.
It's sometimes
Yeah.
overnighters,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you're lucky, you get a week or two in a theatre and you get to settle
That is
in. But
absolute luxury if you get a
Yes.
week. Yeah, yeah.
I remember talking to you. You were in South Africa, but were you in Durban? I can't remember. Okay, Cape Town maybe.
Yeah.
Okay,
Pretoria.
somewhere in
Pretoria.
But it wasn't safe to go out. I remember that.
No,
you guys had to basically get in the van,
Yep. And off you
go
go.
to the theatre,
Yeah.
go to the gym in the in the hotel, I think, and pretty much that was it,
That's
right?
it. And that's all you can, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was just even experiencing all of that. And then I think that translates into your performance, just seeing more life and things like that.
I have a friend. There's a surprise right there.
Congratulations.
I have one friend.
Wow.
Actually, I was talking to him yesterday. This friend of mine, I believe, and I don't want to give it away because I'm going to have him on the show one time, but I think he holds the Australasian record for the most Les Mis performances of anyone. And now, whether that's an actual record, it's certainly one he reminds me of.
Yeah.
We're talking 3,000 performances,
Wow.
right? And we were chatting yesterday about various things, including the cricket, which is very important. But he was telling me he went on a tour of that with Les Mis, and they went to Chiang Mai, but they went to South Africa, and he just felt that it was so interesting doing that piece, particularly with its, I'm talking about Les Mis now, with its sort of, I guess, somewhat political overtones, in a place like that. He really felt like he was part of something.
Yeah.
He was part of bringing awareness to something. Now, we're talking, that was in the 90s. And you've got to remember that apartheid had not long stopped, well, assuming it stopped at all. Mandela had not long been released. So it was enormous political change for them to take a show like that, which really talks about revolution and about people speaking out against the government and whatnot. He said it was a really, really powerful experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Burn the Floor has a number of very powerful pieces, right?
Yes.
And they're subtle in their own way, but it's there, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Did you ever get that kind of feeling when you were performing in that?
Yeah, I think for me it was like the shared experience with the cast on stage, because we would always find, you find obviously the meaning in it when you're performing it, but there was one number we would do on the ship version of the show, or the newer, and then we took it on tour. So the newer version of the show, we sang a number, Burn for You. Which, who is it again?
That might be John Farnham. Yes, yeah. In fact, it would be.
It is, most definitely. And for us, a lot of us are in long distance relationships, and a lot of the musicians and the dancers and things like that. And it's awesome the way that Burn the Floor had, well, I know that number was created by, some of the dancers as well as Peter, of course. And it's so much soul in it. And so, when you are then performing it, you sort of connect to it all, and being on the ship and everyone's on the long distance, then you're singing about a long distance sort of thing. It was just, you get some moments like that. Where you're like,
we should say hello to Peter and Nick too. Hello.
Hey guys.
How you going? I'm sure they'll be watching.
Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic people. And they've been wonderful to you.
Oh,
they
my
really
gosh.
have.
Yes.
So we could talk about the Burn the Floor thing. Look, I can't say enough about it, folks. I don't, I'm about to say I don't endorse that many things, but I'm telling you that one, I'm giving 100 out of 100. Those people in that show and around that show, they're remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. It's a show that deserves greater accolades, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It's a tough marketplace at the moment, though. There are so many things going on, and what's changed dramatically is that people are being entertained more in their homes now. So getting people out to shows requires a lot more of the advertising dollar, a lot more of the social media stuff and whatnot. But I'm telling you, check it out. It's all there online. You can have a look at it. You're tuned in to Live at Leigh's Place, where we talk to singers about singing stuff. Proudly presented by vocalmastery.com, where there's never been a better time to become a great singer. You've just recently, in the last 2 weeks, returned from, I think it was 5 months in New York City, right?
Yeah, about that.
Now, explain to the folks what you were doing there, what that was all about. And
So I went over to study intensively at Broadway Dance Centre. Having spent roughly the last 4 years singing, working and singing, I felt I needed to get back to dancing a bit more, because it's one of those, use it or lose it type situations, I believe, with dancing.
It's certainly been that in my case, with the dancing, yes.
Anyway,
Move on.
I went because I wanted to get back into my dancing, and because music theatre is really where I want to be, and you need to have everything up, I believe, up to scratch.
You do.
To be working, and also just to experience life over there and experience the people and the audition process and all of that sort of stuff. And
how did you find that? How did you, all of those things you mentioned? I remember you sending me a message. We were conversing.
We were Facebook messaging then.
You could Facebook messaging. See, I've moved on.
Yeah,
I know how to do Facebook messaging.
You've done well.
But I think you were on the subway somewhere, and you were, I'm going to my songwriting class or something like that. Yeah,
so they
and
do
I'm thinking,
all these.
I'm mowing the lawn this afternoon. You're off to your songwriting class. How does that happen exactly?
Well, I mean, I think I was definitely in the mindset of, well, I'm here for 5 months, or, I'm going to just do everything I can. I
know people say this, it's a real cliche, and I spent a lot of the time in the States when I was working in Los Angeles, but for folks who go to New York, you've only got to go there for a day. it's the feeling there is palatable, isn't it? It's like it's palpable, palatable as well. I'm going with palpable instead.
Yes.
It's an understatement to say how electric and how exciting that place is. And it's not just at night. Like, I mean, it's brighter at night,
All
right?
the time.
But there's just some vibe about that city that little wonder there've been that many songs written about it, and never a truer saying, if you're going to make it there, you're going to make it anywhere, right?
Absolutely.
Because the competition there it's tough.
And huge.
Yeah.
There is just so many
It's coming out of the
people.
woodwork everywhere.
Yeah. And I mean, just the audition process was so eye-opening for me to see, even down to the fact that they use different types of folders that we do, like to have your sheet music in.
Right.
Like, we all have the little display folders and they've got the big clip folders. That,
Yes.
like those sorts of things. I went, oh, okay, get myself a clip folder now. But just, people will wait. If you're not part of the union, I guess.
Yes.
People will wait for 6 hours for an audition to maybe get seen.
That's right, yes.
And maybe there's another one tomorrow, so then they'll have another day off work. They're all working jobs, like jobs, and it was really like something else to watch. And just they have unofficial lists outside. You rock up at 6 a.m., put your name on a piece of paper, plastered outside the building, this huge New York City building, and hope that they're going to use that list, so you come back and might get seen in 2 hours and not
you might
6.
Did you see, being Australian and being somewhat different, did you see that as a potential advantage?
To an extent, at least because they have so many people come through the door, you're not but you're not the same as everyone else.
Right.
So that at least gives you, a point of interest.
Yeah, that would
I guess,
make you
point of
stand out a
difference.
bit.
Yeah.
And were you fortunate enough to receive any feedback?
From teachers, yes.
Right.
Not from audition, because you don't often get much from auditions, but from teachers for sure. Sure. And it was just nice to see where I stood overseas, where I stood in all of that.
And I mean, that's an interesting point. Do you have a perspective on that? Would you? I know that I do know you're a very modest person, so. I mean, is there a way of measuring that, like, out of 10 or?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
mean, I guess it gave me some confidence for sure.
Good.
Like it didn't break me down and go, oh my gosh, I'm never going to make it. But it made me think, okay, well, I guess you sort of, what's the word? You sort of make it seem like this big thing, big unattainable thing, I guess New York City or the people in New York trying to do Broadway. And then you sort of get there and, okay, I'm actually kind of in a good place,
Yes.
and I'm not the bottom of the barrel, and I'm not.
I saw some of the postings you did at some of the open mic nights and whatnot. I mean, and that's a great experience to have, right? And you just got to go. The one thing that I remember when I first went to the States, I was there studying, and then I was teaching and whatnot, is I'll say your average American kid at 10 or 11 years of age will get up and say, let me just show you what I'm going to do here.
Yes.
Their bravado is extraordinary.
Yes.
And it's part of their culture. And I think our version of it here might be show and tell at best, you know what I mean? Or Newsday on Friday. But you find that you're and I don't know why I use the word average. I'm talking about the vast majority of American kids. You put a microphone in their hand and they're quite happy to talk. They may not even be performers.
No, but
there's just something about the culture that says, and in New York, you're going for it. You're either living the dream or you're waitressing, right? That's pretty much it.
Yes.
Like there's really not a lot in between. They have summer stock theatre there, which is our version of like amateur musical societies, I suppose. They have bits and pieces, but generally you're not in a Broadway show or an off-Broadway show. You're taking class and you're working, right? And you're auditioning.
Yeah, absolutely. And that definitely, those open mic things, I mean, I don't know of many in Sydney.
I haven't seen one for a long time. They have them for comedians. So maybe you go on as a comedian first and then break into a song.
Tricked ya, gonna sing.
Tricked ya, gonna do
That's my joke.
Stephen Sondheim song. Although that wouldn't be all that funny,
Enjoy.
would it?
Well, maybe it'll be funny because, anyway.
Yeah, maybe. So, that is a shame. Look, I say we collectively, the Australians have developed more of, dare I say, a culture around musical theatre and whatnot. But to suggest that that's a part of our culture is probably not true. It's really intriguing to me. We have one of the finest opera companies in the world.
Yeah.
We have, I believe, a world-renowned ballet.
Yeah.
Like world-renowned, Then we have a whole bunch of more arty like John Bell's Shakespeare, and these things are recognised all over the world. Yet musical theatre, and we've got some of the best musical theatre people in the world who have performed in different parts and soundtracks in different parts of the world. But culturally,
it's just not.
It's not. It's there, but it's not
growing.
Our heritage though, right?
Yes, I mean,
the Americans kind of own that art form.
They are music theatre.
That's it, and so it's a remarkable place to be.
Yeah,
and boy, is it the reality when it comes to it.
That's exactly right.
And has that now, I guess, inspired you to go further?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it kind of put it within reach, made me go, okay, all these people are doing it, I can do it.
That's great.
I'd love to do it here. And so I wish that I hope that the market keeps growing, because I think it's getting better.
I think so. Yeah, you're talking about, well, at any one time in Australia, I don't think we've got any more than 3 or 4 shows going.
Yeah, so
and one of them's usually touring.
Yeah.
So whereas, as you know, you walk down through Times Square and you go, well, there's one of 20 here.
Yeah, there's Today Ticks an app, and you got.
Then there's the off-Broadway ones and whatnot.
Yeah,
but that's okay. That's also, that's part of the fact that you're a country of 300 million versus a country, I don't know what we're at the moment, 20 million or 25 million or something.
I'll agree with you.
I'm glad though that that's inspired you on. I must say, for the years that I used to take clients to a camp in Los Angeles, which was primarily a singing camp. In fact, it really was a singing camp. And one of the goals that I had for them is that some of them are a little on the fence. Well, I think I'd like to be a singer. Now, if someone's saying to you they'd like to be a singer, you go, well, how long is it going to take you to make up your mind? You're either going for it or you're not. But I must say, one of the things I'm most proud of is that out of the perhaps 30 people I took over a succession of years, about 10 of them came back and went, you know what? That's a great experience, but I know I'm not willing to do what has to be done. Now, in some way, that saved them a lot more anguish that went with it. Now, it's not a case of them giving up. I don't mean it was them going, I know what has to be done, and I know that within myself I'm not willing to do it.
Yeah.
Now, to the best of my knowledge, some of those people I'm still friends with, I don't ever hear them talk with any regret about it.
No.
They just go, you know what? In order to go to that level, it takes a lot more than what I'm willing to give.
What I'm going to put, yeah.
The frustrating thing for me as a teacher is seeing people who have got that to give and don't give it. And you're saying you're robbing yourself of an opportunity here.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really healthy position to be in, that you recognise that, you got to keep working. I mean, who gets out of that?
Well, that's the thing.
No one gets out of the work, right?
No.
You're tuned in to Live at Leigh's Place, where we talk to singers about singing stuff. Proudly presented by vocalmastery.com, where there's never been a better time to become a great singer. Someone was saying to you that, it's great, you've done all this stuff. That's remarkable, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And you were alluding to me that, I don't know if I feel deserving of that. Sort of tell me about that. Yeah,
well, I think I felt, it's because when I go back and look at it all and you just look at the series of events, I feel lucky that you were my singing teacher and that you've then, you got a phone call and then this happened for this and, and all those sorts of reasons. So when you put that together, you go, I mean, it's good. It's a positive thing that's happened, but that's it. That's how it happened.
Well, let me give you my perspective. Firstly, I thank you for that compliment. And I feel I'm actually the fortunate one, not only with yourself, but many, many people who have not only entrusted their vocal life to me, but they've sort of really entrusted a huge part of their life, hopefully not all of it, as I think I've said before. Something that my mentor told me, Seth Riggs, who I was with I studied with him for 14 years, but his philosophy lives on in me. And he said to me in the early stages of my learning with him and my teaching, he said, someone comes in with a vocal problem. You show them how to get past it and how to get on with their life. And I remember thinking, well, that seems a bit much to me, But you know what? It's true. Because for those folks, if singing is important to you, which to you it is, of course, and if you're singing well, then I guarantee your life is running a little bit better than if you're not singing well. Now, it may seem somewhat shallow and even naive to folks who don't do that for a living, but it's very, very true. The same could be said about someone who's performing in another important task, even more important task perhaps than singing.
Yeah.
They're a parent, they're a husband or wife, they're the boss of people, whatever it might be. So if people are performing their duties, as I call it, and their skills much better. But what you consider to be luck, and there's no question that every singer, actor, or person that becomes successful, you require a bit of luck. But you can't just survive on luck. It doesn't work. To me, now I can only recommend people who've done the work. And the difference that I saw in you from that 12 months of moving away, because the thing that you didn't elaborate on, and I don't mean this rudely, is that first time away from home.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, first time out of home.
First time out of home, living in a different country, which all sounds very exciting, and it turned out to be exciting,
Yeah,
right? But
absolutely.
to start with, it's a daunting, scary experience.
Yeah.
So unavoidably, I hate the word you got to grow up, but you have to become a different person. You have to be able to deal. You're meeting people from all over the world.
Yep.
Perhaps people you're working with that you maybe don't really like, but you've got to work with them anyway. There's all of those things that become foreign language,
everything.
Being so far away, not just being able to go up to the mall in Cronulla and do whatever you want to do. So you've got those things, but then there's the work. There's the 5 or 6 shows a day, 5 days a week that just you can't help then get better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to think that's true. Anyhow, in your case, you can't help but get better. That's why I was able to recommend you. Not because of any favoritism. I've got plenty of people coming here that can sing and dance, but they didn't have the discipline and they weren't ready for a show like that I knew was going to require. And you still, even then, had to step up to that, right?
Oh my
and I
gosh.
don't mean that rudely.
No, but
it was
absolutely.
This is a whole different thing.
The whole new thing. Yeah. And
never a truer saying than, like, if you play tennis, far better off to play tennis with someone who's a bit better than you.
Yeah.
That's the way to look at it. And if you can get into an environment, folks, out there where you're singing, playing the piano, playing in a band, whatever it is, get with people who are better than you. And by better, I mean they're more skillful. Not they think they're better. You don't want to get with people who whack jobs, you know. Yeah. Get with people who've got better skills. Trust me, it lifts your game. I interviewed a girl, because when this is being seen, that one's already come out. Anyhow, and she talked about coming off the road with Tina Arena. She said she always came back as a better singer. Well, yeah, because the expectation's there. Lift your game. Yeah. That's what it all comes down to. And that's why people want to go into the better shows. They want to sing with the better singers. They want to sing with the better conductors and musical directors. I want to be directed by that person, and so on and so forth. It's a common trait. I think we started to talk beforehand, and I'm not sure if we got through to it, about how you then deal with the anxiety of a performance. Because you said this lovely thing to me this morning when we met in the coffee shop, and I wrote it down without you realising it. You said, when you perform, it transcends the anxiety.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, is that as simple? Because some people are very flaky about this. Like, they kind of look off to one side and they go, and I just go to a different place. Now, pardon me if I'm making fun of somebody. I don't mean it that way. Yeah. Because I know that tends to be not necessarily true. You know?
Yeah, I think that because you still know what you're doing, and
you have to have an awareness of where you're at. Right?
Yeah. For me, though, I think I was saying when I said that's where I know my stuff. Like, I know what I'm doing. I've been in almost every situation imaginable while performing. I've had everything happen to me beforehand, or anything happen, and be on different types of stage with different types of sound and different costumes, and slipped over and fallen on my knees, or dropped the prop, or music stopped. I've done a tap routine to no music. Right. Like, everything has happened. So when I get on stage now, there's nothing that has happened that I couldn't deal with. Right. And that is very comforting to know, because I get on stage and go, just do my thing. Just sing. And, the other part is that for those 3 minutes, 2 hours, however long the show is, your only concern is the show. The gig, right? Yeah. And that's it. And so that's what I love about it. And that's what I love about being on stage, is because it's just, it's as simple as that to me. In that way, it's just do that. I'm processing as we speak. Yeah. No, that's a very, very interesting insight. Little wonder people are drawn to it. Yeah. Little wonder that people become, darest I say, addicted to performing. Yeah.
and the attention that goes with it. I guess the potential problem for that is if they learn to rely on it only for their sense of well-being.
Yes.
And it's a saying that I've said many times. I may not have said it on these podcasts before, but if you are what you do, then who are you when you don't do it?
Yes, actually, that's in your book.
Is it in my book? I should have that book here as well.
Yes.
I've got plenty of copies left.
Please. I read it in 2 days.
Yeah, well, it is written in finger spacing, so it's pretty easy to get through, right?
Okay, but I don't read that much.
No. Well, that's very kind of you.
But it's true.
Well, it is true, and I learned that, from somebody. And so occasionally, if I'm getting a little bent out of shape, I call it, when I'm going, and I'm not feeling the love, whatever that is, you have to remind yourself that this is an experience that you're having. And if it's the totality of your life, man, you're going to have to be gigging 24 hours a day. You'll have to be on. And this is where you see people, you read the stories of them, usually very sadly people have passed on.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to not be that person. So they then had to substitute something in their life, i.e., usually a harmful substance of some description. So, and you know what? I don't know that other people care that much anyway. So, I don't mean this rudely, so you can sing, right? Great. That's great. Yeah. Can you rid the world of cancer? That would be a far greater worthwhile thing. Notwithstanding, I'm certainly not talking down the positive benefits of singing and music. No. And in fact, we know there's studies done that people who sing tend to generate endorphins that make them feel healthy and fit and whatnot, and also the listener as well. But where it stands in the, dare I say, the hierarchy of importance, it's maybe not that high, So where to now, right? So you've had this incredible experience, you're invigorated, you've got these new skills and whatnot. Auditions are coming, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely.
Things to be looked for. Continuing to work on your skills, which once again, I've got 3 pages full here of just continuous stuff here that you've done.
Yeah.
To me, your success is deserved in every way, shape or form.
Thank you very much.
Because on top of that, at the risk of, because I'm far from embarrassing people, as you know, it's also the nature of the person that you are as well. I think that with you, what we see is what we get. You're a very kind person. You're a person that has got a very, very good work ethic. I mean, I'm enormously proud of you. I tell people about you as well. I really do. And I want people, that's the whole idea of you coming on today. And I want people to know about you. And I think after this, they're going to go searching for you and hopefully
get everything up ready to go.
More importantly, get the ones down you don't want to see. That's the one to look at. So look, without further ado, there's really only one other thing for us to do. And that is, let's go and have a sing.
Let's.
All right. Thanks, folks.
There goes my heart beating, 'cause you are the reason I'm losing my sleep. Please come back now.
There goes my mind racing, 'cause you are the reason that I'm still breathing. I'm hopeless now.
I'd climb every mountain and swim every ocean
just to be with you and fix what I've broken. 'Cause I need you to see
that you are the reason.
There goes my hand shaking, and you are the reason my heart keeps bleeding. I need you now.
If I could turn back the clock, I'd make sure the light defeated the dark. I'd spend every hour of every day keeping you safe. And I'd climb every mountain are the reason.
Come back, I need you are the reason. Just a little closer. Come a little closer. Need you to hold me tonight.
I'd climb every mountain
And swim every ocean
just to be with you
and fix what I've broken.
'cause I need you to see that you are the reason.
Vocal Mastery.